This is Capital Games. I'm the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero, I don't know if they announced this previously. They might have. But
yeah, it was last week, actually, that they announced this.
Well, it's good that we know some podcasts that cover the news and video games.
I know for me, the only reason I knew was Xbox did a big news and Xbox post, and I was just like, oh, I guess I'll keep an eye on it.
Oh, okay, well, good. I'm glad one of us can do that stuff, because I guess I couldn't have been bothered. So, anyway, so it was announced, it was shown off today that the Paradox had a Paradox announcement show that was being presented by Xbox. This is kind of weird in a certain way, because even though Paradox is a very successful gaming company, they're not really mainstream gaming companies. They're not something that I would really say would get a big presentation, especially from one of the big console makers. So this I thought was weird, but we'll get into that, I think, towards the end. What were your initial thoughts when you saw the announcement that Xbox was doing a Paradox announcement show?
First thing I thought, all right, I guess we got some PC Game Pass stuff going on. And then at the same time, I know Paradox has also been putting some of their 4X games on Xbox One and Xbox Series S and X. So I was like, okay, possibly we might see some announcements of stuff coming out to the Series X and Series S consoles as well, too.
That is interesting, and I guess it is a good idea for Xbox to put a spotlight on some of the things that are coming out on their Game Pass. But I guess that's one thing I have to ask is I didn't hear any of them say, and this is coming to Game Pass. I just heard Xbox One and PC. That's all I kept. Or PC was very much implied throughout all of these, but a lot of them did have Xbox Series X, Xbox One versions that are coming out. So if this was to bolster Game Pass's value, I don't think this did a good job, because they never mentioned Game Pass at all during this presentation. Unless you can correct me and find where they did. I didn't see that at all in this.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I know likely Microsoft could potentially be in the works of working out Game Pass deals. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hell, I don't think anyone will know until things actually start dropping on the console, because a lot of these, I will preface this podcast with, is stuff coming out in the future. Some of these games don't even have actual dates. Kind of fair warning for anyone who's just like, okay, I want dates. I want to know when I can, just drop money and pre-order this. Unfortunately, a lot of this stuff they just had, hey, wish list it today on Steam or Xbox or whatever.
Right. I mean, there is some with some dates, but you're right. Most of it was wish listed on Steam on this point, so nothing you can do there. But why don't we just get started with what was announced? We're going to start with add-ons. So a lot of what they showed off in this announcement show is a bunch of add-ons to some of their bigger games and titles, which isn't a bad idea, because these games do sell pretty well and have a devoted fan base. So this is actually something I wasn't surprised by. So, Zero, if you want to just chime in on any of them, you can stop me at any time. First add-on that was announced was Crusader Kings 3 Tours and Tournaments. Crusader Kings 3 is a very in-depth, not RTS, but a grand strategy game. And they put in add-ons on top of add-ons all the time on both the console and the PC version. Got a very devoted fan base that is really into the complicated systems that it has. So when these add-ons do come out, they do garner some excitement. So that was an interesting one. Zero, anything you want to add to that?
I think just the systems that they mentioned in this particular add-on were really interesting. That your kingdom can essentially host a tournament and, just show off how grand your kingdom is, and if you've got like one hell of a champion, your champion can kind of stomp all the guest competitors, and at that point you can sort of flex the muscle of your kingdom. But at the same time, you may also have to deal with other kingdoms potentially using the event as a chance to assassinate you and your lineage as well too.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's super interesting. And then concept of tours is also interesting. So you can do things like set a campaign to go to a particular region and then try to conquer those regions. But while you and your royal family are away, potentially there could be others who set sight on your empire and go, ooh, this guy's leaving his empire so he can go on a royal conquest tour. Okay, well, let's start plotting to basically take over his kingdom. And you either have to, start trying to manage your the stats of your kingdom to try to, get people a little bit more bolstered not to betray you, or you could end up with someone in your kingdom just kind of ready to fling the doors open and welcome like another empire to take over your kingdom.
And these are the intriguing things that happen in Crusader Kings 3. A lot of storylines get shown off and everything in the game that does interesting things throughout with the AI in that. So that's with Crusader Kings 3. I mean, that's going to sell pretty well when that eventually releases. The next one is Across the Obelisk, The Wolf Wars. I know you have it. I bought it on your recommendation and did not like it at all. I
started off liking it, and then it got to a point where it was just like, wow, I really, really want to like this game, but the balance is so out of whack.
Mm-hmm. So they announced an add-on called The Wolf Wars. They didn't really show off much aside from some new characters, and that's coming soon. I don't think they showed a date off for that. But
no, I don't believe so either. I mean, it's got like new heroes, new pets, new cards, new maps, and it just seems kind of like an expansion to a roguelike card game, which, I mean, it's great to see that it's getting some more stuff. I haven't come back to the game ever since the launch period, and that was when I initially played Across the Obelisk, so maybe there's a chance it got better, maybe not. I have no idea.
Right. I mean, like I said, I bought it and played it, didn't like it, I refunded it right back. Like, I was like, I think after an hour, I was like, nah, this ain't for me. So, nothing that seems like it's going to change my mind on that one. Moving on, Europa Universalis 4 Domination was also announced. It was just a trailer and an announcement. That was it, essentially. This is one of those series that actually sells fairly well and has a devoted fan base. And this is one thing that Paradox, I think, does very well in this. Paradox has not an issue, because if you're a fan of these games, you like the fact that they do this, but they put on a lot of DLC in their games. Like Stellaris, if you were to pay for the Ultimate Bundle, which has the game and all of its expansions from this point on, is about $230. A lot of this DLC, when you get the game and you want the full experience, it costs a lot of money. What they do with Europa Universalis and something like Hearts of Iron is that they have a subscription-based service where if you get the subscription for, like, let's say $5 a month, you get access to all the DLC, which I think is actually a really smart move on this. So when that comes out, you can try out the new DLC if you choose to. There's not much more to add on this one, but it's another expansion, essentially. And I guess it's going to be more about war and fighting and firepower than anything else, is my...
Yeah, they did have an interview, I believe, with either the director or producer, and they said that the main big draws on this expansion are the inclusion of Japan and Spain, because those have been two particular kingdoms that people wanted in the Europa Universalis games, and so those will be the two big kingdoms that they'll be adding. I forget who the third one is, but
yeah,
it seemed like that was exciting news for anyone who's a fan of the Europa Universalis games.
Right. Moving on, new updates for Victoria 3. Victoria 3 deals more with the commerce, I think. I might be wrong, but I think it deals with more business than, I would say, the Europa Universalis part. Let me still check that. I think it does, because the thing with these games is that they go on different directions with each of their city building games. Yeah, it's more economy based, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So it just showed off new updates, new types of UI, things like that. So again, free updates is what they're showing on that one. Stellaris First Contact was also shown, another expansion to Stellaris. This is just a story pack, so it's not. I don't think it's gonna give more story content, but it's not gonna get more systems involved, I guess, is what's happening on this one. So that'll be, I believe, $15, and it's coming out next month. I think it's this month is when they announced that. So
Yeah.
more content for that. And then Surviving the Aftermath Rebirth, which is going to have terraforming to a certain extent in this one. I didn't even know this game existed, to be completely honest. And it looks interesting, and if you're into, I guess, that kind of sim where it's more survival-based and apocalypse-based, I mean, that's cool. So let's get into the new announcements that was shown off on this show. The first one is the Lamplighters League and the Tower at the End of the World. This looks to be a cross between Indiana Jones 30s 40 Pulp and, I guess, XCOM. It looked a lot like, it reminded me actually of Midnight Suns to a certain extent. Except, well, no, that's not really fair, because it kind of did. It's more XCOM-y than it is Midnight Suns, because it has the Overwatch mechanic, and it has a lot of the grid-based, I guess, the kind of grid-based strategy. But they added another aspect to it, where you actually control your characters directly. You can basically tackle maps in a way where it's much more stealthy.
There's kind of like a action phase before you get into the grid-based combat, and at that point, they made a big mention that during this phase, you can basically do stealth takedowns of enemies. You can set up traps. You can use it like as a scouting phase, so you can figure out where to best place certain units and stuff like that. And I thought that kind of a concept was cool, that you can set up the board just where you want it to be, and then once you're good, you can lock things in and go, all right, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is pretty interesting. I also like the feel that it's getting. Like, it really reminds me of those like old campy type of explorer movies and explorer books that they would have, that Indiana Jones is really based off of. That concept that they have there is interesting. I do like that. The question is going to be if the writing is going to hold up enough to where it continues to be charming, or if they're just going to go for the standard tropes. Essentially, it'll be interesting to see where they go on that area, because if there's something at Paradox I don't hear much of that they're good at, is it's good storytelling. A lot of their games rely on the storytelling being your actions than it is to show characters with good writing and personality. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from there with Lamplighters League. But I'm interested. I definitely am interested in this. Let's see how they price this, because I'm starting to think this is a $60 game.
Yeah, I could certainly see that. For me, I'm really interested in the fact that I had a lot of fun with the Shadowrun Returns games, which was what Harebrained Schemes had worked on. Mm-hmm. And that was the one game that sort of put them into the limelight. I never got a chance to pick up Battletech, but I heard Battletech was pretty good. And then just seeing this and seeing how it's got kind of the Indiana Jones sort of vibe to it, I'm just like, oh man, digging it.
Yeah.
Really want to get into this.
Yeah, like that part of that aspect of the game looks interesting. And I wonder what exactly they're going to do differently than the other XCOM games in there. Is there going to be like one thing I thought about is, what if there's a treasure mechanic in this, where in each mission you have to get a piece of treasure, and if you get it, you get a bonus for doing that, or something along those lines. Like, do different types of things in the game to make it more interesting. But we'll see. I don't think they gave a release date. It's coming this year, is what I remember hearing. Let me just double check. I think it's this year. It's coming soon. But I think on the stream it said 2023. So
yeah.
Okay. That'll be interesting. We'll see what else they come up with in that part. Mechabellum was the other new announcement that was shown off. I guess real quick, it's an auto battler where I guess you place different units on a board, and I guess they automatically attack each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
That was kind of what the premise was when they mentioned it. I was like, oh, well, that's neat. I'm really terrible at auto battlers, so
Yeah.
probably not for me, but I could see some people really having fun with it.
Right. I do like auto battlers, but they need to be free to play. If this turns out to be, even if it's like $20, I'm like, I don't think so. So this probably should be a free to play game. So next one, Knights of Pen and Paper 3. I've played these games before, and they are fun. They really are. They have a weird, quirky charm to it. So I'm very interested. That's coming out this week. So I'm going to see what their reviews are like and check that out if they're good. But Knights of Pen and Paper 2, if you haven't played it, I would recommend it. It's actually pretty fun in that aspect. So, yeah, nothing more to say. They didn't really show a lot more in the game that I haven't seen before. But it looked interesting, so I'll give it that. You got more to add with Knights of Pen and Paper 3?
It looks like just more of the same. I have the Knights of Pen and Paper 1 and 2 collection on Switch, and it's a fairly entertaining game or fairly entertaining pair of games. So, yeah, it just seems like, more of what everyone likes, and, unfortunately we'll have to wait and see if that stands to be the case, but, just here's to hoping it's just more the same.
Next game that was announced was Life by You. From what I could gather from what they were showing off, it looks like The Sims, essentially. But my guess, since it's a Paradox game, it will be Sims in a more, well, no other better way to put this, in a more simulation-like game. Because The Sims, even though they were made to be a life simulator, quote-unquote, they did sand off the rough edges pretty much to make it more accessible to more people. If Paradox is doing this, I'm guessing they're going to get more in-depth on certain things. We'll just have to see what exactly that is. But I can see some people who maybe want a little more in-depth version of The Sims that might get into it. Not a lot, but I think there is a slightly sizable amount of people. What do you think?
I believe the same too. And if I remember right, there were some news sites that had made the commentary that Life by You is actually made by some former Maxis developers that used to be over at EA making the Sims games and stuff like that. So it sounds like the game's got one hell of a lot of pedigree. But as always, pedigree is nice, but it doesn't mean that they may necessarily have all the people that truly were behind the game that is being discussed. So we'll have to see if they can make the rubber meet the road.
So next one that we're going to talk about is Age of Wonders 4. That was, I think this was announced previously, and they announced the date right now, which is May 2nd. The Age of Wonder series is a fairly popular series. It is a turn-based strategy game and a tactical RPG. It's also a 4X game, so it does a lot of different things in these games. I've played them before, couldn't get into them, but it's still a series I'm very curious about. It doesn't mean I'm going to purchase it right away, but I will definitely look forward to seeing how that turns out. Otherwise, like, a fairly popular series, I think, and not a surprise that they're making a new one.
Yeah, this one looked really neat, especially kind of how with you could set up your kingdom and things like that. It just seems very, very interesting. I never got really much of an opportunity to play the past Age of Wonders games. I know some people have had sort of a hit or miss impression on the past games, but this one looks like it kind of has it all put together, and I think that's where a lot of my curiosity is coming from, mostly from the fact that it just looks interesting. It looks like they have everything generally set up pretty well.
It definitely looks good. That's the one thing I think with the Age of Wonders games where I kind of got a little turned off because it kind of looked a little rough, but it doesn't look too bad now. I think it actually looks decent in this one. And then the final announcement was City Skylines 2. That was the big announcement that they waited till the end as a big deal. And it wasn't something I realized until we looked it up before the recording, is that the first City Skylines, 12 million copies sold throughout all... I knew it was successful. I didn't realize it was that successful. Like, I thought... Because my feeling was, like, games like SimCity are very niche now, so they're not going to be huge sellers. 12 million for that type of game is really good. That means that there is not only a dedicated fan base, but there is enough people whose good word of mouth came from that they're willing to give that game a shot, which speaks volumes about the game itself. Because I know it's an easily moddable game. They have tons of expansions, and it's got a dedicated fan base that really champion this game. So I guess a second Skylines is not a surprise in this one.
I know when City Skylines originally had came out many years ago, it was kind of the thing that a lot of people had flocked to, especially after the disaster that was SimCity 4.
Right.
Everyone was just like, oh my god, SimCity 4, what a fucking disaster. And then this game just kind of came out right when people had lamented just SimCity 4 dropping the ball. And then after the initial rough landing, they ended up just really sticking and supporting the game and just doing their damnedest to kind of make sure, they wanted to show people that they were committed to the game, that they honestly did want to actively support it. And I think things really took off when they ended up adding mod support. And that was when sort of just everyone just went sort of buck wild on Steam, just creating all sorts of mods and things that you could do to the game, and it really won the hearts of a lot of people who had been sort of burned by SimCity 4. They were just like, oh my god, this is everything I want in a city builder game. And it's just kind of heartwarming that all the love has finally culminated into a new iterative sequel to City Skylines.
I agree. It is definitely great to see something that has gotten so much love get so much attention and sales in this as well. I remember the console version of City Skylines had some problems though, but again, it's good that a company that actually puts the time in to make a quality game get the success it needs. So that's great on this end. Why don't we get to our final thoughts on the announcement show? Here's the thing. For those who are into these types of games, I mean, it's great. And I'm into these types of games. I like strategy. I definitely like 4X strategy too. So this was definitely marketed and was appealing to me. My question is on both Microsoft and Paradox. Why? Why did you have to do a whole presentation and show on this? Was it really necessary to make a big spectacle on these games? I get now that City Skylines has done 10 million, over 10 million in sales. Was it necessary to do this? Do you feel that this was a necessary thing for them to do? Like, what were the benefits that I know the benefits that Paradox would get from this, but why Microsoft? Why would Microsoft want to put money towards this?
Yeah, that was what kind of confused me, because I was just like, maybe one or two of these things maybe have like either Xbox ports. Like I know Stellaris has an Xbox port.
Yes.
But at the same time, you've got stuff like Victoria 3, and I'm just like, I don't think that has an Xbox port. But just hey, I guess this is super important stuff to people who really enjoy Victoria 3 on PC or whatever. So yeah, it was a bit confusing to me. And all, especially with the whole Xbox branding of this presentation, because I think if it was just a Paradox was doing this presentation for their own sake, probably would have been fine. But yeah, I know personally I'm still a little confused on why the Xbox branding just was a thing.
If it was just Paradox who was doing this without backing from Microsoft, it would have been probably a dev, or maybe even a smaller, like a smaller presentation. Like a dev makes an announcement, and then it's trailer, and then a dev comes out, and they say, and here's the big thing that we're working on, City Skylines 2. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. But they had a set They had an audience. They had fancy lighting. They had big screens, and then a host. And I'm sitting here going, why are you doing this? Because the only people... I love strategy games. I really do. But even I know they're niche games. They're only for a certain set of people. There is no way you're going to convince somebody who is, let's say, a Call of Duty fan, or a Fortnite fan, or like this popular game, like a Madden fan, FIFA fan, who will then say, oh, well, Xbox has got a new stream. What is it? Paradox? What is that? Oh, wow. I want to work on the economy of the Victorian age. Let me put down Call of Duty and let me try that out. There's no effing way. There's no way. And I love these games. There's no effing way you're going to get a mainstream audience who are going to look at these games and say nothing but, this looks boring as shit. That's the thing I don't get. Like, if I were Xbox right now, and Xbox has got some problems right now, would I really be spending money on this? Unless Paradox is doing something behind the scenes that we're not aware of for Xbox. I don't get why would they front money for this type of presentation that has little to no chance of getting a bigger audience.
And I think that kind of ties into just my confusion on why this just had to have the Xbox branding. Because just most mainstream Xbox fans, I don't really see them going out of their way to say, never tried a strategy game, but sure, let me go ahead and buy this. It's just very confusing to have the Xbox branding. And again, this is not me disparaging and saying, hey, there's no point in it. It's just more, why on earth would you advertise to a constituency that generally does not care about strategy games? They care about what's in with everyone else. Mm-hmm. And again, when you're trying to sell this to people, I mean, it's going to be great for everyone who is invested in Paradox's games, but again, not everyone is invested in Paradox's stuff. It's just not the case.
Even people who are big strategy fans, okay, who do like strategy games, also find Paradox's games a little daunting. So we were mentioning XCOM, okay? XCOM players are definitely strategy game fans, but there's no way those XCOM players might look at something like Crusader Kings and go, whoa, that's a little too much for me. That's a lot. Or if you're into Civilization, they might look at Europa Universalis and go, okay, calm down. It's like, calm down. That's a little much. Like, Paradox isn't a Firaxis, where they have a little bit of mainstream credibility. Paradox is for a hardcore subset of strategy game fans, who I guess just so happened to hit it big with City Skylines in this. So I guess that's the big thing. Like, I'm not poo-pooing them getting it. I get it. And they got money from Xbox, so they did it. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like to me in this. So I'm not faulting them. I just question why Microsoft decided to do this with the problems that they're having right now. Because I would look at this and go, if I was in charge of Xbox branding right now, I would be very diligent to where I put my money right now. Like, I would be like, okay, what kind of return of investment am I going to get out of this? What kind of eyeballs will I get? What different types of game, like not just different types of gamers, what games can I put out there that will put us in a positive light that will then bring in more people onto Xbox? I'm sorry, but Europa Universalis, Stellaris, Crusader Kings 3 is not that. As good as these games are, it's not that at all. That with Xbox specifically, I don't understand why they did that. With Paradox, I understand completely why they did. It's like, okay, you're giving us money to do this? Great! Awesome! So they got this elaborate stage with, not elaborate, but a nice looking stage with a nice host and everything, and a bunch of people who clearly are not media trained got up there and announced their games. Poor guys were just so awkward in that show. But anyway, it was like 30 minutes, so who cares? With Xbox, I don't get it. I don't know why they were doing this.
Yeah, I know I've expressed it many times already, but yeah, I'm just generally confused by the inclusion of the Xbox branding. I mean, I would have understood it if like a bunch of these games that were coming out and stuff had, just big fat Xbox branding on them saying coming to Xbox or something like that. But we rarely saw that. I mean, we might have saw a logo or two, but that was generally it.
If the big announcement was, and they're all coming to Game Pass, then okay, now I get it. Like, okay, cool. Like, if they said, oh, Lamplighters League is coming to Xbox and PC, and also on Game Pass, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I didn't even see any Game Pass. I didn't. I saw an Xbox One logo. I saw that, and I didn't see Game Pass. So yeah, I don't get it. Like on Xboxes and Microsoft, I just don't get it at this point. But good on Paradox. Good on Paradox that they got this chance. Overall, the stream was good, but again, this is for a very niche, a certain type of gamer. It's not. No matter how pretty and how good looking the stage was, you're still having games that are for a very small subset of gamers. And I don't think anything on there is going to change people's mind to give Stellaris a chance if they haven't played it before.
I agree. Just anyone who has never really had much interest in the Paradox stuff, they're probably just going to look at most of these games and go, okay, neat games, but I don't care for any of them, so whatever. Lost on me.
Like, even if they say neat games, they're going to take one look at it and go, but no shooters, no action games, no. The only people I think we're going to be interested in this game, in this stream, are the ones that already know what Paradox does. And if you don't know what Paradox does, you're not interested already. If I talk to somebody who's like, oh, there was an Xbox stream, how was it? It's like, well, if you're into X games, then it's great. Otherwise, it's not for you. Like, I wouldn't even recommend this to anybody who, like, has a slight interest in strategy. I mean, you would have to be all about strategy games to like the games that they were showing, which I am. I like strategy games, but like you've said and I've talked about, if you're not into them, there's no point to this. So, and there was nothing here that I would say that would grab a mainstream audience that wasn't already interested. So, yeah, I don't get it in this one. But fine stream. It's a good stream. Watch it. Watch the video for 30 minutes. It's got some good announcements.
Exciting day for anyone who's into Paradox's stuff, but unfortunately, I think I speak for the both of us. It's just kind of a weird head scratcher on why this had to have the Xbox branding, because most Xbox fans are kind of normal people, so with nothing like first-person shooters or anything like that, it's going to unfortunately be lost on a lot of people.
Right. It kind of sounds like we're just labeling Xbox people as chuds who are all about like Warzone and Call of Duty and shit, which is not necessarily true. But when you do these streams, you hope to get a mass appeal to it, to bring in gamers who maybe you'd want a diversity of different types of games. When you do these streams with these nice sets and doing these announcements in nice looking clothes and all that, and the video production, that's your hope to do this. I didn't see a damn thing that would show me that somebody who weren't interested in these games before would be suddenly interested in it. And that's my big thing, and I know that's your big thing. Oh, that is it for this episode of Capital Games. Tune in next time where we talk about the going-ons and happenings in the world of business and video games. I am The Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.